streets of Soho, bringing you the straight dope, embarrassing ourselves in public. I mean, in the future, everybody's going to be live streaming everywhere. There's going to be podcast studios everywhere. It's already happening. We're just on the forefront. We're the pioneers. We're the space pioneers. We're the astronauts flying into the deep streaming space. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? 2 years of Easy Paradise. We're going to recap the 2-year anniversary show. Talk about all that, what that entails. We're also going to talk about professional managerial class. First things first, I want to talk about, okay, you got to see, there's this thing popped up in my YouTube. I forget what the podcast is called, but this woman theorist, she is a genius. Her name is Catherine Liu, Liu. I think that's how you pronounce it, Liu. I spent all day just watching YouTube videos. So she's been on a bunch of podcasts, a bunch of video podcasts, just talking about the professional managerial class. She was on Jacobin. I subscribe to Jacobin. I guess they're a communist. I did not know what Jacobin is. But she's a professor, someplace, I think UC Irvine or something. And let's see how Elizabeth Street Garden is doing, if it's still here. They just partying in Elizabeth Street Garden 24/7 to keep them from tearing it down. So she's a professor at California, and she's sort of, I don't know, she has this book, The Hoarding of Virtue. So I can't tell if it's just another kind of right-wing pipeline. I mean, she's not right-wing. She's an Asian American lady. But a lot of her opinions, she's not necessarily like,
I'm telling you, if you give me two...
she's not necessarily like, oh fuck, this isn't Elizabeth Street. The wrong fucking street. Fuck. She's not like anti-DEI, but she kind of goes into the finer points of why that's kind of just like an illusion. One of the things she was talking about is, well, if you look at, private equity, it's mostly white males that are owning all of this shit. I'm kind of nervous about talking about, because it's just like, she made so many good points. She was so articulate. And I knew going into this, I was going to try to like recap. And there was just so much hot fire that she was spitting that it was just like, if I can put this here for a second. That it was just like, oh my God, how am I going to, it was just kind of exactly what I needed to hear about. She had this really interesting point about 1972 was the year where the United States stopped the weight of what the United States exported. It was the first time that we imported more weight than we exported. Or at least the first time, I don't know, since whatever year. And so basically, the powers that be decided to run our economy on a debt-based economy where they would create kind of this managerial class of white-collar workers and sort of get rid of the working class, right? I mean, that was sort of getting rid of manufacturing, outsourcing was sort of getting rid of the working class. And, there began to be this kind of managerial class of overseers who don't make anything, and sort of that became sort of like a marketplace and in a glamorous kind of profession or something. Things like academia. Oh God, I know I'm gonna fucking butcher this. Oh, one of the points she makes is about, she was talking about how she had to do all this sexual harassment training for her job. There was some seminar, it was 6 hours long. She couldn't skip through it. It was online, but it was like, the point she was making, that there are private companies. She looked into the company that, the university she works for, they outsourced the sexual harassment training to some private company. And so the company is owned by some venture capitalist private equity thing, where it's like they're accepting public money. She uses University of California university system as an example, where it's like University of California, the entire UC system used to be totally publicly funded, and now she said it's like only 11% public funded. So it takes all these, because the idea is the students are supposed to pay for student loan debt. I don't even know, but she's getting at the way that the kind of financing and machinations. The larger point she's making is that the wealth of the working class and the private sector is almost like just a siphon off the government. The idea that it's private is almost a lie, because they're making money off of these public universities. They're making money off the University of California, which is a public institution. So they're literally getting taxpayer money. But, it's like the private prisons. They skimp every fucking way they can to save money, to make as much profit as possible, because they're owned by private equity people. It's all just like movies, just like every fucking thing in our society now. It's owned by private equity. It's owned by venture capitalists who just want to keep costs down as much as possible to increase their profits to the highest margins they can. And so that was the first time that I had seen, I got into a Twitter spat a couple years ago before I quit Twitter with Ron Silliman, the eminent of Silliman's blog fame, the eminent blogger, the famous poetry blogger, Ron Silliman. And I don't know, is Ron Silliman just some kind of like, I admire Ron Silliman a lot. I would say he's probably one of my biggest influences, actually, in a crazy way. I think he brings a lot of beauty to language poetry, quote unquote. And as far as like academic explanation and sort of common sense terms of language poetry, you can't beat Ron Silliman. And, but he followed me on Twitter. So we were mutuals on Twitter. And there was this fucking, clickbait story in the news about Home Depot was requiring like white people who worked there to do sort of a DEI training, where it was like they had to like acknowledge their privilege and like talk to the other employees about their privilege and blah, 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 and go through this training that was sort of like, this is people that work at Home Depot. And so my tweet, it's Twitter. It's just a place for sort of pithy remarks and jokes, it's like you can extrapolate on it if you want to, but it was more or less just a joke, and just sort of, it was just a pithy remark about, my tweet was, if you work at Home Depot, you're not privileged, which is my way of saying that, like, nobody talks about class anymore. It's all about your identity category. And so this is something I've talked about at length on here, is like, what is the meaning of that? What is the true motivation of this? Why is Home Depot, why did they give a fuck if you acknowledge your white privilege? It's just another way of disowning responsibility, like they do with the environment. It's up to you to consume ethically, to consume responsibly. It's up to you to deal with racism, to deal with, it's not Home Depot's fault. It's not Whole Foods, which is basically like a plantation at this point. And the race and the class are embedded with each other. They use them. So it's like there's been frustration for me over the last, since Trump-mania. Since Trump-mania. Because things have become kind of intersectionally reductionist. That's all that fucking matters. And I've seen people make their careers on it, and I've seen certain people get used as sort of like virtue, examples or something, trophies or something. Or just, game pieces in this sort of like social media effort to prove that you're a good person or protect your own ass with your career, to play ball. To me, I do think there's some truth that it's almost like a new McCarthyism where it's a way of getting people to not talk about class. It's a rather than talk about wealth inequality, tax, things that we are talking about more, but they do seem like divided. They seem like two different political fronts. You have, quote unquote wokeness, which I don't like the word. It feels racist to me. Woke feels like Ebonics. It feels like people are trying to like put responsibility of woke on like black people invented it or something. When really a lot of it seems more about, I don't know, white people who feel guilty or so with Ron Silliman, I said, if you work at Home Depot, you're not privileged. And so Ron Silliman, being the, elder, kind of pedantic, he had to teach me a lesson. So he tweeted back at me, which Ron Silliman's never tweeted at me before, ever. And I don't know if he knew that I was like a fan. But he's like, something about, I don't even remember. It was something about, if you're a manager at Home Depot, you make $100,000 plus. That's a kind of privilege, that differentiates you from the people who work on the floor. Not to mention blah, 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 racial blah, blah, blah. And so I just tweeted back at him because I didn't really want to get into some kind of like tit for tat, point by point. Because, I don't know what the fuck Home Depot is doing. Why is Chase Bank suddenly gay? Why is Chase Bank give so much of a fuck about Pride Month? Like, if Chase Bank likes it, if Home Depot likes it, if corporate America likes it, it's probably a bad thing. Maybe that's just me being cynical, but like, I'm suspicious now. Why the fuck is Chase Bank trying to ram Pride Month down our throats? Or why the fuck is Home Depot making their fucking employees undergo this like privilege training or whatever the fuck? And so that's basically what this Catherine Liu was saying about DEI's training at. There's this whole industry. It's like the fucking scaffolding, right? That guy did the special about the scaffolding in New York. I hate the scaffolding. I wish they'd get rid of all the fucking scaffolding. We do not need it. I'll take my chances. It's so ugly, it ruins the city. I would rather take my chances being hit in the head with a tool flying off a construction site than see any more goddamn... If that's literally the only reason they have it, is to save our lives, Get rid of it. It sucks. We hate the fucking scaffolding. It's ugly. But okay, so that guy John Wilson, right? Did an episode about the scaffolding. It's the only one I saw. And it's all about money, right? It's all about money. There's some fat asses in fucking Houston, Texas who make shitloads of money selling fucking scaffolding to New York. And, I think that's part of what the DEI thing, or at least like these sensitivity trainings, that's part of the industry, I think it's more just about dividing people. It's kind of a, inverted, making white people feel hopeless. I saw the National Book Award nominees in poetry today, and I don't know, it all looks like bullshit. Diane Seuss, she just won. She just won the fucking thing. So, God, how do I get into this? I don't really, because it's such a nuclear thing to talk about. It's such a sensitive thing to talk about. And maybe Catherine Liu is just like this kind of YouTube kind of appealing. Look at that kind of lover of life. Listen to, what is that, System of a Down? Where it's like she's an Asian woman, so she can make these criticisms, and she's not going to come across as racist. Where if I question DEI training, or I'm not even against like that per se. Like I said, my suspicion lies more in like, why is it popular amongst these people? What are they trying to do with it? Why do they want to mass produce insecurity, guilt, hopelessness? This is like a complicated thing to talk about. I'm sure my streams are just dog shit. When I'm walking around, it's just like I can't focus on any goddamn thing. I'm trying to talk about racism, DEI. Another aspect of this is, now there's like this financial global elite. You see it in New York City. It's not just like white people. It's like, people from the highest part of the caste system in whatever fucking country. And, I just think in a nutshell what's happening with this private money, or private-public partnerships, where they're outsourcing the debt to the taxpayer. Basically, we pay for everything, and the corporations, private, these rich people just get richer. And they're all white guys, right? The top 10 richest people are white guys. It's Elon Musk, it's Zuckerberg, it's Jeff Bezos. Even though there's this kind of DEI, like that's our fault that we have to do something about, as on a person-to-person basis, we have to be less racist or something, as if that was the problem. 15 years ago, we were all just going around being racist and walking around in our fucking white privilege or something. And then there's this whole industry online and in publishing now. One of the reasons why I talk about this is because in literature, it's almost like that's the specialty. It's just like, you got to write about whatever your trauma is. You got to monetize it. You got to commodify like your trauma narrative. One of the things she talks about is there's an aspect of like exclusivity. The left like wants to do things that no one has done before. They want to be on the vanguard, and they want that feeling of, and I think you see this with a lot of these issues, is like there's an in-group, out-group effect. Where it's like you either do pronouns, and that's like something that's like part of the just your fabric of existence, or like you're in the out group, you don't know how to speak that language, you don't know, or it's not a priority for you or something. You know, I've just been thinking about the effect on people of like, you know, they want to be a part of something that feels exclusive. They want to get into the club with the velvet rope, you know, or the place where there's a line to get in. I mean, maybe particularly women do. I think like with feminism, you see this stuff come out more. You know, women, not to gender it, I guess, but like it seems to me like they really chase these kind of trend things, these kind of trend issues, these feelings of like exclusivity, wanting to be in the in group, fear of being in the out group, fear of not being cool, fear of being, you know, behind the trend, being out of fashion, being stale, having other people make fun of them, mean girls. And you know, it's not about unity, it's not about solidarity, you know, things that, and so it gets people to focus on these kind of surface, nitpicking things that you can't change, frankly, things that, you know, are suddenly making you responsible for things that you had no control over. And you have to live your whole life as sort of like this placating, you know, apology narrative or something, perform it on social media, make it a part of your career. So with poetry especially, it's like that's the work that gets platformed. I mean, or she was also talking about the MacArthur Grant. She was like, the MacArthur Grant is like a big lobby. It's just a big propaganda. You know, the people that are in charge pick certain winners because they want to portray a certain image or put certain ideas across. I mean, it is government money going to sponsor artists, so it can be frustrating living in the shadow of people with a big platform, sell a lot of books, win MacArthur grants, get a lot of praise, get written up in major publications, and you feel like you're insignificant, and you feel like, but you don't want to, you know, how am I going to play into that kind of immigrant trauma porn prose narrative smoothness? You know, the poetry has gotten very conservative stylistically, actually, for as liberal as, you know, the identity kind of thing wants to be. And I mean, the National Book Awards or whatever it was for poetry, I mean, it was like, not that that's a bad thing, but it was I don't even know, was there even one white guy on the list? Was it Ben Lerner? One white guy that wasn't Ben Lerner? Ben Lerner, he got in before Trump, so he didn't get canceled like Adam Fitzgerald. You know, I think like it's not like for white guys today it's been some big cakewalk where we get everything, or at least, you know, the people that do get everything don't care, and they still get everything. The finance bros, the 6'5" blue-eyed douchebags in the Hamptons, or who live in the Murray Hill of the West Village, they still have everything. Whether or not we have this kind of multicultural facade of sort of inverted racism or something. I mean, it's not like, I'm not saying it's racism against white people, but it's like it's just overly aware, overly focused on. I think we've been living, I don't know, but with young people today, it's like, I just see that that's baked in as like what's cool in their generation. You know, being gender fluid, being androgynous, being trans is like, that's like having long hair to them. Or that's just what's cool to them. You know, it's like, performing, I heard somebody over on the way over, somebody talking about men were expected to wear men's clothes, women were expected to wear women's clothes. Like that was some kind of like unusual, old-fashioned thing. You know, like with young people, I think it's just more normal, or it's, you know, it's encouraged, I think, for them to cross-dress, which is not a bad thing. I saw the New Yorker called Sally Rooney the first great millennial novelist. Would people agree? I guess I've got to read a Sally Rooney book now. I haven't, I've never read a Sally Rooney book, but apparently she's the first great millennial novelist. According to the New Yorker magazine, the pretty much most prestigious literary publication, I would say. Wouldn't you agree? The New Yorker is probably number one, even though it's a shell of its former self. I haven't read a Sally Rooney novel, but I did listen to part of the New York Times podcast with her, and it was very boring. She said she doesn't care about her career. She just seemed really uninteresting compared to Zadie Smith. Zadie Smith had so much to say. She was so thought-provoking, so interesting, so so many opinions. Sally Rooney is just like, just seemed like an empty person. But maybe that's what makes a millennial novelist. This is why I don't really identify as a millennial. I just don't feel, I don't feel that empty. I don't feel like that vacuous, you know, like I've tried to live in like something real just because it's not part of the social network kind of portrayal of what a millennial is. It's like fucking buzzer over here. Can you hear that buzzer? I feel like this buzzer keeps fucking up my live stream. So yeah, I'm badly mangering Catherine Liu's opinions about the professional managerial class. Well, I just feel like that's kind of what I've been dealing with at my job. It's been frustrating for me to go to the Poetry Project, which is, you know, the longest running anti-bureaucracy in American history, according to the Village Voice, and see it become this sort of HR octopus corporation with that's just emails and apps and tasks and Zoom invites and just micromanaging, and you know, there's delegating and task managers and event, you know, coordinators and just all that kind of corporate build out, you know. It went from being this kind of like very hermetic, like a hermitage with just a couple people that work there, to being this like big enterprise, like it's fucking, I don't know, United Healthcare or some shit, you know, and it's hard to know who to deal with because there's so many different, and I guess that's just evolution, and that's just getting with the times and having to fit in with what is out there. But it was refreshing to hear this criticism of kind of the professional managerial class, because there are people, it's the DEI thing is almost like you have to play ball with this. It's like you have to do this or you do not get to eat dinner. You know, you don't get tenure, you don't get a house, you don't get the job, you're not going to get it anyway. They Oleanna'd your ass. Like William H. Macy. It was a college admissions scandal. You know, so there's these kind of white-collar people that if they play ball, if they don't upset the apple cart, they can work for the universities, be a part of academia, or whatever it is, the professional managerial class, CEOs, executives. You gotta watch this woman's videos, Catherine Liu, L-I-U. Go on YouTube, Google Catherine Liu. It's the smartest shit I've seen on YouTube probably ever, to be honest. She was just talking a lot of sense because we have lost track of like the class solidarity and you know, not that necessarily working, although supposedly these white collar jobs and these like more creative type jobs, these are going to be kind of the first that are taken by the AI stuff. It's actually going to be that stuff and not blue collar jobs, I guess. That's going to be sort of like threatened, which is kind of ironic. Everybody thought it would be, you know, factory workers, what have you. And I suppose that'll happen too. Cab drivers. It'll be everything, you know, it'll be every kind of labor. That's okay. I saw this thing, it was like, what makes socialism socialism is it's how the workers are the owners of the means of production. And I don't know, the means of production, I guess they won't need workers anymore. They'll just have fucking machines. And so I'm waiting for the universal basic income. I hope it comes like sooner rather than later. I think that's the real solution. You know, just level things out economically. Get people well educated, get better schools, get better fucking... Let people homeschool their children. Yeah, so it was the 2-year anniversary of the open mic. I want to talk about that as well. I read my State of the Union address at the beginning. I don't know, I mean, it's like diminishing returns. You know, well, this is partially what I'm talking about. It's like, it's kind of old hat at this point. No one's excited about it. You know, my views have gone down. My likes have gone down. But that's just kind of the natural life cycle of things. And it's like, could I have kept it for 2 years that special to people, that like it would have been this special 2-year anniversary and all these people would have come out and dressed up and, you know, like to some degree I don't have compliance with my themes or okay, this guy was smoking over there the whole time, so I kind of felt... I'm embarrassed to be doing this in public. You know, like this. Does this just keep getting worse? I mean, are my live streams getting worse? I'm getting like, you know, I'm complaining about women. You know, I'm sort of like walking a very thin line, talking about DEI stuff. I'm talking trash about Poetry World, you know, where I work. Well, I've just seen all these people win by becoming part of the managerial class because they're good at, you know, at academia stuff, at getting letters of recommendation and putting together a packet or whatever the fuck, or getting their transcripts or getting good grades. You know, I've always been sort of half in, half out, where I want to learn, but I'm also distrustful of the institution, and I want to stay kind of native to some degree and original. and I want to be different, you know. So like I was talking about how like people want something to be a certain amount of exclusive. If they don't feel like it's exclusive, then they want it less. But it's also like there's a point where you can be too unique, I think, and too weird. You know, like if you're too weird, I think then you like alienate people. And so it's almost like a spectrum, right? Where it's like you're either like not interesting, you're not exclusive, or then you're like in this hot zone where like you want a certain amount of exclusivity, but if you go too far, then you alienate people. But I don't mind being too weird. And you know, I'm proud of the shows that we do. You know, it was a good turnout. I guess there's like a feeling in the room that you want to have, you know, like when it's special, there's like a certain feeling in the room. And, you know, there's sort of a mentality like, well, it's not like the early days where it's so packed that you can't even move. And, you know, somebody had a remark the other week about before the glasses got thrown or whatever, it was like a different sort of turnout. I mean, we always get a good enough turnout. You know, it's always 30 or 40 people or more. And to me, that's like, it's still about getting practice on stage, being in front of an audience, learning. It's not always glamorous. I wish that I could stay like the cool in thing to do. You know, the circumstances of my life have been as such that I've had to do what I had to do just to even stay in New York. I mean, this is part of it. She was talking about the Taiwanese New Wave, I guess in Taiwan, when they were making all these movies in the 80s. She was talking about they had the living conditions in the cities that all these filmmakers could live in the city, go to movies, hang out, talk about movies together, almost like the French New Wave or something, right? Like they're all hanging out in cafes, drinking coffee at the Cinematheque or whatever, Langlois. That's like what the New York School was, right? It's just like New York was cheap apartments, this gathering place, all the poets could hang out, collaborate, talk about poetry for hours. We don't really live in that era. You know, that's part of the intention. The intention is to like separate everybody from gathering, separate everybody from finding each other, making us do it through these kind of virtual means. We're all scattered all over the place. There's no third space. Everything is financialized, privatized. You got to pay to sit down in New York anywhere you go. You have to pay rent to even sit there. And you know, that's a way of subverting the culture, of preventing some kind of like original ferment from happening. You know, we do the best we can by being there every Monday night. But it's like, even within that, it's like the people that come there live all over the fucking city. Live in Queens, live in New Jersey, live in Williamsburg, Bushwick, Ridgewood, Midwood, Flatbush, Kensington, Windsor Terrace, Sunset Park, Bay Ridge, all over the goddamn map. So I don't know. I should probably get a better camera. You know, it's like there is the mentality that like if you don't go up, you go back. You have to take bigger risks. You have to bite off more. You have to aim higher. I would say, if there was one piece of advice, and just like the part that is not who I am, is I think you do have to be pushy. If you're not a Nepo baby, if you don't have other people making the introductions for you, if there's one thing, and I'm not a pushy person. There was this video, it was Jerry Lewis. They were asking him what it takes to make it or whatever. And he's like, you got to be pushy. Otherwise, you're going to just be standing in line with everybody else who's standing in line. And, like, to be honest, he's right. And my dad always told this fucking anecdote about how when he was in kindergarten or something, they were giving away cookies. And all the kids got in line to get cookies. And my dad just thought, what the hell, what the hell's the point? Kind of like a Buddhist, like refusal of worldly desire, and what's the point, but it's like, it's kind of true. Like, everybody's in line to get this cookie, and like in New York, that can be the difference, is just being pushy. At the open mic, that's definitely true. I mean, I don't like pushy people, but they are definitely the ones that, like, get in my face the most, and, like, what am I gonna do? I don't always give them what they want, but, like, they're so fucking pushy. That's like, if you're somebody that I don't even know that you're there, and you don't DM me or say something to my face, which is who I am, like, that's why I always perform last at open mics and shit, because I'm not, like, pushy and, like, taking those big risks. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna jump in front of everybody and get everybody's attention whether I deserve it or not. I generally don't like grabbing people's attention unless, like, I've got something useful to say or entertaining, or whereas, like, just being pushy a lot of times, you don't even have to be interesting. And, this is something I've noticed with women, too. Okay, I'm going to be sexist about it, but, like, a woman will respect you a lot more if you're pushy. Like, you have to be persistent. And it's, if you're sensitive and you're trying to be a sensitive person, it's, you get rejected, and that hurts your feelings. Whereas, like, the people that get rewarded don't have feelings. They're just pushy. I mean, especially in this town, especially in New York, it's like, you gotta be fucking pushy. And you gotta get the bag, I'm just not that kind of person. I'm not obsessed with getting the bag. I'm naive enough to try to do the right thing, or at least that's what, I don't know, like, the open mic to me is an ethical way of performance. It's an ethical way of gratifying one's own ego, but you're filling everybody's cup. It's not just like, hey, look at me, you subject yourselves to me as passive witnesses to my endless, product stream. The open mic, it's like performative communism. So I read this poem at the beginning of the open mic, which I had a nice conversation with Phil last week. Maybe I'll talk about that, which kind of inspired it, which, let's see, spoken to, or she can ask me to leave. We were sitting on the bench out front of the church, and he inspired me to get a big notebook. And Dr. Phil, he wrote up a prescription for me. Dr. Phil wrote me a prescription for some poetry ideas. And it just, I don't know, it just kind of challenged me and got me inspired to kind of, I just thought before this, I've wanted to do this kind of like address to the shareholders, like Nervous Breakdown, Jerry Maguire, Manifesto, like Howard Stern. There's that Howard Stern video of him talking to his fucking crew and, like, at some serious board meeting or something in, like, 2012. It's leaked on YouTube. So I've wanted to do, like the big network kind of conference room, on-air Nervous Breakdown, where I just, like, tell the truth and my 2 cents. But it's also like, it's 2 years. So I've lived this open mic for 2 years, basically every week. And so there's a lot of material, there's a lot of memories, there's a lot of people, a lot of moments, a lot of eras. People weave in and, that's one reason why I don't fight that hard to hold on to people, because I realized early on, like, no matter what I do, there's always going to be people who leave, no matter what.
That's just the way it is. If it's, if you got 40 people, or every week I put on at least 30 people, it's like you're gonna have. We're lucky to have more people coming in all the time to fill those places, But you're gonna have that. People's lives change. It's not always personal. It's easy to take it personal and be like, oh, this person stopped showing up because they hate me, or some weird thing happened because of Instagram. Instagram created problems that weren't there. But so it's like you got to let go. You got to just let people weave in and out. And I guess in a certain way, it's easier for me to I'm a control freak. So it's easy for me to live in that room where I can just be sort of like in control and be in creative control and run a show the way that I think it should be done, and using my ideas. But I'm also very lazy about that, and I could do more. I could write more, like usually I just kind of try to catch things in my butterfly net and then bring them in into show and tell and let them fly through the room. But like this week, Philip kind of inspired me. Like, you can write a play in one sitting. You can write a short story in one sitting. In fact, maybe that's a good definition of a short story. Something you write in one sitting. Maybe you revise it, maybe you edit it, maybe you rewrite passages, but you can sort of get the whole thing in one sitting. That's not a bad thing to just have in your... And I've been, I felt alienated from literary community and sort of not accepted basically my whole life. And I don't know what's happened recently, but for some reason I'm feeling kind of re-inspired and wanting to get involved with poetry again, and reading again, and trying to draw inspiration from that, from fucking other books, poets, hanging out with poets. The Boog City thing was super fun, hanging out with fucking Jay Gaunt afterwards, talking poetry gossip for hours, talking inside baseball. And so I've tried to have this kind of anti-work process for the past few years, where it's like, we live in such a productivity mad culture, work, and I see so much professionalism amongst writers who are successful in my generation, the MFA class of people. They were all in AP classes. They all got super high, they were all kiss-ass kind of teacher's pet. I wasn't that type of person, and there doesn't seem to be room for that in literature, or at least, and there's no discussion of class. Everybody likes Vampire Weekend. Everybody wants to be dark academia. Everybody wants to be an academic. They want to be in the professional managerial class. They don't question that. They want to have their political kind of, poses within that position, but they want to leverage that to have a bougie lifestyle, basically. And, it just doesn't, there's no marketplace, I guess, for, a working class novelist or something to just sort of make it without going through one of these writing programs or being processed by this kind of corporate MFA culture. Publishing industry is kind of the same thing, where it's like every book is some kind of weird virtue signaling for guilty white women who read, those are the people that read poetry. Smart white women, liberal, or, smart women of all races and backgrounds. But people just kind of celebrate these, like, bourgeois Vampire Weekend, like, fucking, yeah, we all want to go to Columbia. We all want to sound like we went to boarding school. We all want to rip off Paul Simon, ripping off West African musicians and not giving them any credit, just stealing their music. but we're like from Cape Cod, so we're old money. Taylor Swift wants to be old money. She wants to buy a fucking mansion in Rhode Island and marry one of the Kennedys. It's all just status clout, people trying to fill their emptiness, proving that they're gods, proving that they're achievers, that they're the best, that they're passing all the genetic tests, that they're taller, more likable. Yeah, and so with the open mic, so I did this, I wrote a poem that was sort of like I thought, because one of the things, when you go up on stage, you think, I'll just improv it. I'll just remember. When I go up on stage, I'll remember to say all this shit. I'll remember to say the shit about, and I'll just make it up. I had an idea in my head about what I wanted to say, 2 years, what I wanted to, oh yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, I get that. Comedians have a thing with, being recorded. Because they think their material is gonna thank you. They think their material is gonna get, I don't know, become valueless. But I can cut things out, just FYI. If anybody ever wants to be cut out, I can cut you out. So, and I have cut people out before. But yeah, it's is it still worth it doing it? How long is it going to be worth it to do it? At this point, it's like my job, so it's I kind of look at it that way. That's one way to sort of stay emotionally detached. Because, if I take it personally every week, then it's particularly with other circumstances in my life, it's just too hard to fucking do what I need to do to actually make it this exciting kind of booming thing. But as long as we can make money and cover our overhead and have a great show, and there's something to be said for that kind of even keel. You don't, when things get too exciting, you can bring out crazy energy, you can bring out psychotic people. But, on the flip side, you also don't want it to be nobody showing up either. So it's it's kind of nice to have it right in that range where it's but you're also in the court of public opinion, and, certain people don't come back. You can tell that you're not cool anymore. That's no fun. It's no fun to sort of be aware that okay, people, now it's I don't even, I feel like I can't even show my face anywhere. People just look at me like I'm some stinky old piece of cheese that's ancient or something. It'd be like opening up a pyramid. It'd be like, Jesus Christ, Matt Proctor's still alive? We thought he were fucking, entombed in the fucking Red Room like a pharaoh with all your belongings. We thought you never left the Red Room ever. Yeah, I mean, it's not that hard to cut it out. YouTube, it's actually very easy to cut it out. They have an editor right in YouTube. You just put in the time code, and it takes it right out. So, if you can send me the time code, it makes it a lot easier. But I can do it too. If people want to get cut out, I can always cut them out. I mean, to be honest, I don't post any notices that I'm filming. I don't do it for my own personal voyeur. I don't even watch it, to be honest. It's very rare that I click it and sit and watch it. I maybe that sounds fucked up, but it's more just about having an archive, and to me it would just feel wasteful to not film it. It'd be what would be the point? We're just gonna do it and just forget about it. Having those, it's only gonna accrue in value. Okay, awesome. Yeah, if you want to come out, that's my other thing is with all my gigs, I try not to pressure anybody into feeling like they have to be there. You just want people to show up because they want to show up. Yeah, I mean, I think if people search your name, maybe it is one of the things that might pop up on YouTube. Not you specifically, but just anybody. You know, like, I have gotten a certain number of views just from, like, when Assad Benbow was on Wild and Out. He's a great comedian. I mean, everybody kind of knew that guy was going places. He was just so, you know, in the zone. He was on Wild and Out, so he's people are seeing that show. They Google his name. One of the things that pops up is like maybe the open mic that he did. So it's like, it's not a huge number of views, like 250 views or something, but it's like, yeah, it's all right. I mean, nobody came to the fucking telethon, really. Well, that's what I mean. It's like, if you look at it last year, and you look at it this year, it's like, we're still having a great time. We're still doing great shows. And I think we're doing interesting work. I mean, to me, it's a surprise that anything I ever do is, like, popular. I think, to be honest, I think that had more to do with the fact that it was KGB Bar. People like that brand. That's very hard to get. In this day and age, everybody's fighting for brand recognizability and clout. And KGB Bars definitely has that. And to some degree, in a modicum, And so, we did run a good show, but to be honest, I'm more of a fucking Cuckoo's open mic kind of guy, or like, I like fucking Phoenix open mic. I like the kind of more, I don't know, like homeless. I like homeless energy at my open mic. Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to talk about, I saw a TikTok video of Trump at Pub Key. Have you ever done the open mic at Pub Key? There was a TikTok video of Trump at Pub Key, which is a crypto bar. I think it's on Waverly Place. It's like, it's between Washington Square Park and 6th Avenue. And it's a crypto bar. I love doing the open mic there. It's on Sundays, or they used to do it. I don't know if they still do it. But it was free. I'm pretty sure it was free on Sundays, which for Manhattan is rare. And I used to go do the Sunday open mic for free at the crypto bar. I watched WrestleMania at the crypto bar. Where Trump, he did some kind of, of course he did a public appearance at the crypto bar. He's got to sell his MFTs and his NFTs. You got to get MAGA NFTs. Private equity, venture capitalists, invest all of your money in MAGA NFTs. It's a sure thing. It's a safe bet. Buy Trump NFTs. You never even hear the fucking term NFT anymore. That shit fucking sank without a goddamn trace. I saw a motorcade going down 2nd Avenue, I think on Monday as I was going to KGB, and it looked like a presidential candidate. There were limousines with the blue and red lights, and then there was like vans. There was a line of white vans behind them that said press. They had a piece of paper in the window that said press. So I don't know if it was Kamala or was Biden. I think Biden talked to the UN. Maybe it was Biden. It looked like presidential. So Biden rode past the open mic on 2nd Avenue. We rode up 2nd Avenue. We should have got Biden on the open mic. Would have been lit. Talk about whatever you want. We have people as fucking crazy as Biden. We have people with as Alzheimer's out as Biden. We could get, Eric Adams got indicted. Fuck yes. I'm so happy. The quicker they get rid of that guy, the better. He sucks so bad. I hate fucking Eric Adams. Get him the fuck out of there. Not that they'll get somebody better, I guess, but did he get Diddy? Was he implicated in the Diddy, was he implicated in Baby Oil Gate? Was he at the white party? He was at the freak off. Was Eric Adams in the freak off? I think Eric Adams won the freak off. That's why he got to be mayor. He was terrible. I fucking hated Eric Adams. To be honest, the city has gone in the shitter. I think that's why they had to get him the fuck out of here. Because it's just like, dude, people are not happy with the way things are going in this city. The MTA, he had 9, there you go. He had a water tank full of Johnson & Johnson at Gracie Mansion. Eric Adams in the freak off at Gracie. Well, he was like notorious for partying. He was always out at the club with like celebrities and shit. He sucked, man. He's the perfect example of like putting a DEI face on. He's a cop. He's literally a cop. And as we can see, he's corrupt. So who the fuck knows who they want to install? It seemed like, because I've been seeing shit about it for weeks, about they've been going after, you know, people in his administration for weeks. The commissioner, the person they replaced the commissioner with, all these fucking people in his administration have gone down. So you could kind of see it coming. The FBI is not fucking around recently. They got Diddy. They got Eric Adams.
No, me. I saw her in March.
They got Trump's ass. They're trying to kill Trump. They keep shooting at Trump. They can't shoot the bastard. He's feisty. He keeps moving around and shit. He's a hard target. I don't know. He's protected by angels. Trump's protected by Jesus. Jesus loves the Donald. I mean, I don't think people should assume this election is over. I keep seeing these videos about how it's going to be a landslide for Kamala. It's like, it ain't over yet, goddammit. You don't know what the fuck's going to happen. People in this country have proved us already how fucking stupid and crazy they are. Let's not, there you go. Yeah, that's right. Bust these corrupt open mic hosts. Easy Paradise. Can we get the FBI to bust Matt Proctor? Blow the lid on the payola. That was something, so that's what I talked about on my address. I talked about the payola. I talked about the quid pro quo schemes, the human trafficking. I'm basically like a foot soldier in the what crime family is it? The Branzini. Yeah, the Comedy Shop. I'm sure there's dark things behind the Comedy Shop. Where do you think that money comes from, okay? It's all fucking Epstein, you know? Well, my prediction is I think Diddy will probably die in jail, like Epstein. I think he knows too much. Like, Diddy has supposedly got all these tapes, right? He's got tapes of everybody, Denzel and Reginald Bell Johnson. Apparently Diddy fucked the guy. That is true. I do work for the KGB. It is true. I'm an insider, okay? I'm a Russian spy. I'm a plant. What do you think all that shit is, you know? What do you think all the recording is about, okay? What do you think the surveillance is, okay? I mean, it's an archive. I look at it like I'm Alan Lomax, okay? You know how Alan Lomax took his tape recorder around recording like fucking Robert Johnson and shit? You know, or fucking Muddy Waters. Yeah, seriously. I never got invited to a single Diddy party, ever. You know, I lived in New York for 15 fucking years. I never got the invite to the Diddy party, okay? I hate to say it, but I like the Bad Boy for Life song and the video with Ben Stiller. You know the video with Ben Stiller where he talks about Papa Diddy Pop? Maybe that's like peak millennial. Maybe you guys are too young to remember that. I'm sure you are. Does P. Diddy even mean anything to you? I mean, I knew that was the beginning of the darkness encroaching into our culture. I knew when Puff Daddy appeared at the VMAs in 1997 with Sting singing I'll Be Missing You. And Biggie had just died. He was completely capitalizing on this guy's death, who was a true artist. You know, music before that, it was different. I hate to say it. I know that's like an old person thing to say, but the entire culture and music was different. It wasn't as corporate. It wasn't as fake. You know, things like Diddy or Biggie, fucking Tupac, Nirvana, all that shit. Even Woodstock 94, shit like that. It was different. And the moment that I would point to where I could tell something was rotten and something had changed. This was like an early inkling that 9/11 was coming. Was Puff Daddy completely capitalizing. His whole thing was merchandising Biggie's death. Who was a true artist and poet and genius of New York. And I guess that's just being a gangster and being a capitalist and having to make it in America, but I'm sure Diddy threw his ass into the bus. I'm sure he killed him. I'm sure he killed him. I'm sure he had something to do with it. And he profited off of it. He's a dark person, you know? Yeah, look at Lil' Kim now. Look at all she's been through. It's amazing it took him this long to bust the guy. But the first time I came to New York, okay, this is how toxic the culture was and how the legacy of the legacy media. The first time I came to New York was 2004, summer of 2004, June, I think. And, you know, this was the day of the original Apprentice on NBC. It was the #1 show on TV at the time. Bush era. It was between my freshman and sophomore years of college. And I think Making the Band was probably on MTV, the Puff Daddy reality show. You know, where he had like aspiring like girl group singer, R&B dancers, like run miles around Central Park to get him the finest breast milks, or the Chappelle skit, right? That's just Chappelle skit. Completely satirizes Puff Daddy, Sean Puffy Combs. You couldn't do it any better. You couldn't satirize the guy any better. So when I first came to New York in 2004, this was right after 9/11, basically, sort of, you know, a few years after 9/11. So you could, you know, it was still sort of the old New York, a little bit. It was still a little bit rough around the edges. And analog, pre-smartphone, pre-fucking Google Maps everything, app everything, order everything on your fucking magic wand of a phone of convenience. And it was a more scary, imposing place. It was more intimidating. It seemed to lean over you in this intimidating way with dark, expressionistic shadows and threatening kind of corners. And the two things that I was like in my pop culture addled brain, my stupid legacy media brain, the two things that I wanted to fucking see when I came to New York, the two things that I like identified. I've been sitting on this fucking guy's stoop forever just talking to my goddamn camera, so I gotta move for a sec. We'll go over to fucking Finelli here. The two fucking things that I identified with New York were Puff Daddy and Donald Trump. I remember seeing Bad Boy Entertainment on Broadway and being like, Jesus Christ, this guy's got a whole fucking building. Not that I admired those guys. You know, it was just like, they seemed to like be the avatars of whatever that meant in sort of like my Home Alone 2, you know, sort of post-MTV, VMA, kind of just status, celebrity obsessed, icon worship, you know, kind of conditioning. You know, we drove by some Trump building. It's like, wow,
Look at all these fucking Trump, Trump Wall Street, Trump fucking. That was way before MAGA hats and shit. And then Puff Daddy, I don't know. I didn't even like his music. I never liked his music. Even when, like I was saying, even when fucking I'll Be Missing You came out, I was like, I really did not think sampling was legitimate. I thought sampling was like not music. I was like, you can't just take somebody else's song and write new lyrics. Of course, now that's all I do. That's all I do in System Lord is like literally steal people's copyrighted material and play and because I'm imitating my what you're not supposed to do. I don't know. The most kind of poetic license you can take is just plagiarism. Okay, so yeah, I prepared this whole fucking opening kind of speech. I think it went well, to be honest. I mean, it helps to have, first of all, I had all this material built up because it's like literally 2 years of people and stories, moments. Although, I haven't gotten to know people as much as I would have liked. I think that's part of, I feel like some weird teacher, where it's like I don't see the kids outside of school. It's like they go home, I go home, then I see them the next week in class. It's not like, it's weird. But I don't know, maybe that's appropriate, I don't know. It's sort of my university. It's like the school of actually doing. It's like we're not sitting around talking about it. Not volunteering in class, not saying anything in class. Like we're out in the real world. We are doing the thing that scares people the most, to get up in front of other people, singing, reading poetry, trying to be funny. What's harder than that, to be honest? I mean, I know comedians, are poison. Socially, they're like the rat poison of performance. They're the rat poison of your vibe. If you want to dump rat poison in your vibe. But what's harder than getting up in front of people and being funny? Like that's got to be like the hardest. This is a fucking H&M right here. That's crazy. This is an H&M. Live from the steps of H&M, everybody. I do want to see the 25th Hour. I have not seen the 25th Hour yet. It's something I've wanted to see for a while. I think it just popped up on Criterion. I've searched for it. It was never available in the infinite abundance of online pirate movie watching, but now it's on Criterion, so I do want to watch 25th Hour. I've heard good things. I'm not a huge Edward Norton guy. I pretty much don't like Edward Norton. But it's like Spike Lee's 9/11 movie, right? Or it's like sort of a post 9/11. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm starting to Michael Haneke. Yeah, somebody mentioned Michael Haneke in some fucking TikTok or something I saw. I forget what it was, but I added a bunch of Michael Haneke movies to my watch list. What the hell was it? There was something I saw and they were talking about Michael Haneke movies. It gives them the effect of, I don't know, being alone or something. I don't remember. I saw a TikTok of Taylor Swift and I think Bella Hadad, one of the Hadads, going into this corner store restaurant on West Broadway in Houston. So I, had to check that out.
It looked like a, I don't know, Taylor Swift. I think she's bougie. She's beyond bougie. She wants to be like old money. She's obsessed with like the fact that she was kind of born into this new kind of finance class or something. She's always been a finance bro. You know, Taylor Swift has always been a finance bro. Her dad is a finance bro. She grew up in a finance bro culture. She just happens to play guitar and make up kind of silly, fatuous rhymes, which are ear candy for a generation of, why are women serial killers? Is that why they listen to all these serial killer podcasts? Because they are secretly fantasizing about being the killer? Why are they obsessed with fucking these serial killers? Pay attention to me! I can't get a single woman to watch my live stream. A woman would immediately tune out of my live stream and be like, I am not watching this. I'm not watching this guy complain about women or complain about how he's short. I'm not watching this guy talk about his fucking open mic anymore. This creep in an age gap relationship. You're canceled, you're canceled, you're canceled. I did see Summer of Sam a few months ago. It was good. I liked what they were trying to do. It was not bad. But I don't know. It didn't quite gel together politically like I think whatever point they were trying to make. I don't know if it really is John Leguizamo in that? Sort of a peripheral Spike Lee doesn't. I mean, Do the Right Thing, I think, is one of the best movies ever made. That movie is really just like an amazing creative inspiration. You know, he's just got such an amazing way with the characters. The framing of the fucking thing is interesting. And then, honestly, I loved Malcolm X. Yeah, I thought Malcolm X was fantastic. Oh, really? Raphael Dugoff did the music for fucking Spike Lee movies? You're kidding me. I know his dad was on Bob Dylan records. Spike Lee's dad, Bill Lee, played the bass on, I think, Mr. Tambourine Man or some of the early, like, Bringing It All Back Home stuff. I mean, Malcolm X I thought it was great. His early stuff, fucking School Days. What's another one? I feel like I should watch more Spike Lee stuff. It's something I've been meaning to do. As a white person, just to... No, I'm kidding. I think he's a great director. I really do. He makes... he's one of the few people that's able to make movies that are sort of effortlessly fun to watch, but also very deep and kind of versed in cinema. Like Do the Right Thing. I would put that up there with any movie ever made. Really. You could say Do the Right Thing is one of the top 10 movies ever made. Easily. I don't necessarily know that he's ever, equaled that, per se. Malcolm X had, like, an epic scope, to be honest. There's some dance scenes in there that are incredible. It's really a good movie, I thought. What the hell else? I'm sure there's other Spike Lee movies. I haven't seen Bamboozled, but I'm sure there's other fucking Spike Lee movies I've seen. Oh, you know what I did like? The Five Bloods. I think I've talked about The Five Bloods on here a long time ago. That was like his Apocalypse Now. I like that Spike Lee kind of has a looseness that I kind of like. It was an epic, but it had a kind of a looseness. Delroy Lindo. Yeah, I got to see 25th Hour. Inside Man, I think I heard was good. I'd like to see Jungle Fever, Mo Better Blues. Crooklyn is supposed to be excellent, I've heard. She's Gotta Have It, I'd like to see. I mean, you know, there was a time where Spike Lee was like famous like a fucking like Robin Williams, or you know, it's like he was sort of recognizable, which is, you know, not for a fucking film director, that doesn't happen too often. And you know, there was an interesting kind of constellation of New York filmmakers, Woody Allen and Scorsese and Spike Lee. I think Scorsese was probably one of Spike Lee's teachers or something. You can see the Scorsese influence a little bit. You know, the kind of scope, the tracking shots, the Frank Vincent. Yeah, Michael Haneke, I don't know if I've actually seen any. You know, I'm like 20 years behind. There's a lot of new stuff. Somebody was talking about Catherine Liu. So I was talking about, you got to watch this woman, Catherine Liu. Liu. She's amazing. She's an academic, but, you know, she's in a bunch of, like, podcasts and shit. She's an amazing kind of commentator. And she was saying she didn't like Steve McQueen movies, which I haven't seen any of Steve McQueen's movies, but she's from sort of the first round of culture wars, so she's not really like an overly sensitive, you know, complaint HR oriented, like, I don't know, corporate mediation kind of culture. Therapy speak. Everybody uses therapy speak now as a way to sort of like act like they're. Steve McQueen is great. I don't know. I'm not sure. She said, I think to her it felt like, I don't know, fake or something. I don't know. I'm not sure. She said she didn't like it. But you got to watch Catherine Liu videos. I mean, maybe she is just sort of like a class reductionist. But yeah, I don't know. The thing about the open mic is you never know what's going to be memorable until much later. You know, like as it's happening, and especially doing it once a week, it's like 1/7 of my life. The director Steve McQueen, not the actor, the director. She said she did not like his films or something. I don't remember. She didn't really get into why in any kind of huge detail. It was just something that sort of came up in the conversation. I guess, you know, it's kind of reckless of me to just repeat that ad nauseum on here, but the Saturday Night Live movie looks pretty interesting. I keep getting ads for this 1975 movie, or whatever the fuck it's called. It feels a little try-hard. You know, I don't know. Saturday Night Live, it's cool for what it is, but it's just another baby boomer thing that we're kind of trapped in. That has so much fucking power. Lorne Michaels is like the Bill Gates of fucking comedy. He's the Kim Jong-un. He's just been in power forever. But, I don't know. I want to try to get back more to like a writing process. So it was nice to write something specifically for this. You know, so I've got this big-ass notebook that I've been using. Which, I don't know, it feels good. It feels like I'm carrying like this fucking first folio around or something. You know, just like this massive script. You know, now I've got this nice big script book that I can read. It's like, oh, I've got my fucking, you know, my soap opera feature film script here. And so I just kind of floated out. I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to sit down. I'm going to write as much as I can about the open mic to just sort of share the poetic dream of like what happened in fucking memory and imagination, what we were trying to do. The fucking... Okay, what is this one? You know, and so a lot of times when you go up on stage and you're like, oh, I'll just riff and I'll just improv and like I'll remember it and I'll just do it in the moment. It's like I don't know, for whatever reason, you get in front of people, it's harder to just have that stuff. You know, it's like you can feel that time when you're not able to think of the word, or I don't know. I guess I'm not quick enough. I don't have that killer instinct enough to just like absolutely Mario Van Peebles. Yeah, I think I heard Nelvin Van Peebles is a really good director. Is that the guy who was like also a photographer, or like they were talking about how he's from fucking... I watched some video about... He wasn't from New York. Was he from California, or was he from Kansas or something? I don't even remember. It was pretty interesting. Was it Winona Ryder? I think it was some Criterion Closet thing. I went through a bunch of Criterion Closet videos. Apparently the Criterion Closet is in the back of a truck. It's not actually a closet. It's movie magic, people. It's not actually I don't know. When you watch as many TikTok videos as I do, it's like it all kind of, you know, you're just ramming so much stuff into your unconscious. You don't even know what you're seeing. You know, you're just seeing pure protein. It's just pure value, protein. That's why we're all hooked on it. That's why my teeth are rotting. It's sugar for the imagination. Down in Soho, baby, with all the elites. And with the fashion and, you know, media elites down here. Live streaming like Mr. Based. Or, you know, all these live streamers that get views, it's like they just do shit that you really should, you know, like I saw IShowSpeed, I guess he like lit off a bunch of firecrackers like in his room or something. It's like they just do this shit that like you really shouldn't do. They're like, they misbehave. Of course people want to watch that. I don't know, it's like watching a car crash or something, you know? You watch it online, you're voyeur, you're detached from it. You know, it's like the internet puts this distance between us and the empathy. It's like there's no empathy and there's no consequences and there's no fucking shame. So you can just say whatever the fuck you want on the internet. You know, this is something I wanted to talk about, how there's just no shame anymore. The way that people are live streaming, walking around with selfie sticks, posting embarrassing footage of themselves on the internet. There's no embarrassment. These people are beyond embarrassment. I guess myself included in that. I'm probably the most embarrassing person on the internet. I'm definitely up there. I mean, is there anybody that is oversharing as much as me and putting sort of half-assed, unconvincing, controversial opinions about things that I probably shouldn't even be fucking talking about?
You know, we're trying to straighten this goddamn. Our society is so fucked up. We're decades behind China. They are living in the future, okay? We're living in the 1970s. America died in the 80s, okay? America died in the 80s. It's like a Springsteen song, okay? They shipped all the jobs overseas. Main Street's whitewashed windows. And, you know, everything evaporated. We're living in the, you know, the managerial class gets theirs as long as they play ball. Is, you know, the fact that there even is this kind of professional managerial class implies that, like, we need to be managed. You know, that's the problem that I see with the world right now, is there's too much management. There's too much oversight. There's too much control. There's no place where things can just sort of grow wild. There's nothing that's, like, not surveilled, owned, locked, vacant. Just allowed to be. Everything's got to be profitized, financialized. All these fucking places in New York just go out of business. We live in just like this flavorless, ugly, featureless, ornamentationless, bland fucking like paste of a world. And yet, you know, like, we're more wealthy. There's, you know, Elon Musk is going to be a fucking trillionaire. It's like that money should be circulating amongst the public to make the world better. It shouldn't just be sitting in this guy's bank account. Like, take his money and build some fucking infrastructure, feed some people, give us just fucking apartments. You know, it's like, oh, well, the reason why apartments are so expensive is because there's not enough supply. You know, they haven't built enough. It's like, yeah, that's because they spent the last 20 years building ugly fucking condo buildings that nobody even lives in, that are like tax shelters for rich people. They're just assets, or I don't even know what they are. They got some tax rebate to build them. You know, if you go to Greenpoint or anywhere, it's just like these ugly glass towers nobody even fucking lives in. I mean, maybe people moved into them now, but they were empty for a long time, and it's like, they've wanted to create an artificial scarcity. They've wanted to, or I don't know, why haven't they kept building? Why haven't they kept our world up to date? You know, is it because people don't want to work? It's frustrating. You know, suddenly not being able to find a fucking apartment you can afford. You can't move out of your fucking, you got roommates. You got to work your ass off to even afford that. It sucks. Being almost 40 and, you know, in this kind of sustained adolescence. Paying, you know, $1,300 a month for our room. You know, oh, there's this wonderful, I encourage people to go out. There's a wonderful interview with James Schuyler in the Paris Review. The new issue of the Paris Review has an interview with James Schuyler conducted by Peter Sheldall, who's a great poet who was also the art critic for The New Yorker for a long time. He died recently. But there's a great interview with James Schuyler sort of about Frank O'Hara and himself. You know, he talks about his own life. And I'm, you know, huge James Schuyler. He's probably one of my all-time favorite, you know, probably top 3 maybe. Although at this point it's hard to tell. But why the hell did I bring this up? Fuck, why did I bring this up? James Schuyler, what the hell was I just talking about?
Hi, New York!
Yo, that's right. Woo! See, people love the camera. They love to say hello to the live streamers out there. Why the fuck did I start talking about James Schuyler? Oh, God. Let me sit down. When I sit down, I'll remember. Maybe. Let me start talking about something else, and then maybe I'll remember. Well, anyway, go get the Parrots Review and read the fucking interview. That's what I did today. I went to the library. I did my poetry homework. I went to the fucking library and I read this fucking interview that I needed to read. It was necessary information. James Schuyler said he was super influenced by D.H. Lawrence, the poetry, that's something I've been getting into recently again. That book was huge for me. D.H. Lawrence just has this kind of plain spoken, and it's very political. It's just his opinions and his just kind of disdain, his disgust for everyone, how fake everything is. You know, it's the writer's job to fucking live in the face of this shit and to fucking spit in the face of this. You know, it's hard to live in New York because it's so fucking expensive unless you're independently wealthy or you're able to make a bunch of money somehow. And generally speaking, I don't know, our whole culture is rigged. So it's like, I mean, and maybe you're able to monetize your fucking ass online somehow through Instagram or being an influencer or just being hot or something. I don't know. But I would prefer not to, you know, like Bartleby the fucking Scrivener, you know. There's something to be said for being a square peg in a round hole. You know, as poets, it's not the worst thing in the world to be like a bitter, hateful loser. To be a hater. It's part of the job. I need a hair transplant. Oh my God, yeah, I need a hair transplant. You're right. Whose hair should I get transplanted on my hair? Whose hair should I get? Richie Sambora. I'm just gonna keep smoking weed. All right, 5 people. Thank you for watching. Oh, I ran out of fucking rolling papers. Fuck. That's right. Hey now. All right. Thank you for subscribing. Are you a stand-up comedian? Who's your favorite stand-up comedian? Can I get a one-word suggestion from the audience? I'm gonna go back into improv comedy, everybody. It's my big announcement. I'm here to announce that I'm re-entering. I'm throwing my hat back in the ring. I'm starting an improv team. Somebody wants to be on my improv team. I'm thinking about going to Soho Playhouse, but I don't know. I'm kind of tired. The cleaning. So we have this cleaning lady that comes every Wednesday. It's like living in a hotel. I don't even know what she cleans. She mops. I don't know why she mops, because no one wears shoes in the house. But it completely fucks up my sleep schedule. So now I'm tired today, so I'm, you know, trying to put in my time and do good and bring
value and entertainment to my online community, yeah, she might steal. Cleaning ladies steal things. It's what they do. They're thieves. They're all in MS-13. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Okay, it's lies. Okay, violent crime has gone down in this country over the last 10 years. You know that? I don't want to hear your Fox News propaganda. Okay, who told you that? Tucker? Did you hear that listening to fucking Tucker? Or InfoWars? Was that on InfoWars? Or was that on the 5? George Carlin and Eddie Murphy. There you go. Good choices. Good fucking choices. You're not into Hannah Gadsby? What about, I don't know. What about Mike Birbiglia? My arch nemesis, Mike Birbiglia. Apparently I need a hair transplant. Oh my god. I am. I'm gonna get hair plugs, everybody. It's it's my announcement. These are hair plugs. Can you tell? I had this hair transplanted from other parts of my body, let's just say. Looks natural, looks totally natural and good, right? My hair plugs. All right, 7 people. Well, it must be because it's getting cold. We've turned that corner of the year. It's officially autumn. You know, so the beginning of the open mic kind of coincides with the autumn equinox. In sort of a, I don't know, I guess it's a happy coincidence, but I mean, New York, I don't know. My body is so beat to fuck. My legs fucked up, my shoulders fucked up, my teeth are fucked up. So I don't know. I need some kind of massive cash infusion. How am I gonna keep this up? You know, what do? We just keep going. We just keep doing this over and over again. How do we fucking? I guess I need to do some kind of like stunts, some kind of like, you know, violent. You need to be a violent sadist to get views on YouTube. That's what I've seen. David Dobrik. I watched this woman's video, why I'm moving out of New York after 5 months. And it was all this bullshit about, oh, you know, I'm not moving because, like, it's too hard for me, or, like, you know, I love it here. Like, I really feel at home here. Like, I know that, like, this is the place for me. And, like, I've met so many people, and I've had so many friends. I've met so many friends for life, and, like, just all of this, like, extreme bullshit. It's like, and she's leaving after 5 months. It's like, it's amazing that people can act like they're feeling something so deeply, and like they're so committed to something, and yet the objectivity of it is just like, well, you're not actually. You're leaving. You haven't. You know, 5 months is like an extended vacation. That's not really like a time that you lived someplace, really. But there's just a lot of people who are full of shit on the internet. I mean, right? Am I right? People just, oh yeah, so I am not AI, everybody. That's my commitment to you. I'm not just auto-generating AI content for clicks, okay? I hope you guys aren't just like a bot farm. Are you guys just a bot farm? I'd like to believe the bot farm would have no interest whatsoever in my live streams. You know, I might only have 6 people watching, but I think they are committed to what's going on. Although I've noticed that I have like more fans on YouTube. It's not quite as many people that like I know IRL. Like Ben Callahan watches, but like I don't even know if any of the other open mic, they don't comment really. So it's like these are my internet fan base. This is my online community. I don't know. I think, you know, there's an expectation that artists be good people now. It's like a requirement.
that if you're an artist, you're like, it's better to be a good person than a good artist. That's like the phony baloney online sloganeering bumper sticker that you put on your whitey ass Cleveland Review of Books Twitter. I'm just against everything. Fuck it all. Fuck you all. Fuck the internet. You know, fuck, most people's writing, I guess. Fuck the bougie writers. Fuck the MFA industrial complex. Fuck the finance criminals. Fuck the venture capitalists. The adjuncts. The creative directors. The programmers. The coders, most of all. Fuck them, most of all. They did this. They're responsible for this ugly, vapid, bland, tofu of a fucking world that we live in right now. Yeah, and so we're just partying, we're fucking having a good time. We are, I don't know. I try to bring the message to the people. I do the best that I can to speak my truth. It's not always easy. There's things inside that you're trying to get out. You can't maybe quite articulate them fully, like like I'm a fucking term paper. Let the AI do that, okay? Let the AI fight our logical arguments against each other, okay? I don't know. People want to stand out. It's like we want to be cool. We want to be the best. We want to be better than the rest. We want to be, but I don't know. Women are amazing at being friends with each other too. Women are so supportive of each other. I feel like that's something that men don't have. When I look at like on Instagram, it's like if a woman posts something, it's like all of the other women in their respective community like it. They comment in it. Oh my God, you look so hot. Oh my God, cute. So pretty. Oh my God, where'd you get that skirt? Oh my God, your makeup looks so good. They're so fucking supportive of each other. Is it real? Is that real? Or is there some kind of catty, like how is the ego not coming? What's the difference with men? Why don't men have this online culture of like, when I post a selfie, God forbid, it's like, are other guys gonna comment and be like, yeah, slay king? I've heard, okay, this is something I wanted to talk about. Somebody said that they don't like men who have like an aesthetic Instagram. It's like the ideal man doesn't even have an Instagram. A man with an aesthetic Instagram, it's like, no, honey, that's for the girls and the gays, okay? And this is something I wanted to talk about. I feel like there's an alliance between the girls and the gays, and they're running everything. And it's a power alliance, and they hate us unless we're 6 feet tall, and then we're maybe allowed in. If we're 6'2", then we're allowed in. But anybody under 6 feet, it's like you gotta either be in a grandfathered in position of power and authority, like Matthew Rohrer, or the list goes on, or you're expendable. Frankly, you're just not necessary part of the gene pool anymore. They don't want you. You're disgusting. You're subhuman trash. My phone is about to die, so thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe. The childless cat ladies. There we go. Do I sound like JD Vance? Oh my God. Please, I guess. I'm a white guy from Ohio. What can I say? JD Vance has kind of ruined... well, fuck him. I never liked him. He's always been like sort of my arch nemesis ever since I heard about him. And he's got weird theories about procreation and how our grandparents should pitch in more and shit. I don't know. Fuck him and Hillbilly Elegy, and fuck the New York publishing industry for rolling over and like kissing his ass and falling into his like him exploiting his own trauma, which is non-existent. You know, he spent like what, a couple weeks in like his grandma's trailer or something, and he wrote an entire like memoir about it. Like, come on, man. Come on, man. Yeah, so, you know, part of the complaint, it's not necessarily complaining about diversity, equity, inclusion. That's obviously a good thing. The complaint is, like with Marvel movies and shit, it's like there's no substance. It's like that's all it is like this kind of like demonstration of the code of ethics of like the way that you're of the revised kind of racial, you know, hierarchy. I'm losing viewers talking about this, and it's like there's no story, there's no movie, you know. It's just like you know, it's trying to exploit a consumer base. You know, we're taught that like we're supposed to express ourselves politically and creatively through like consumerism, through like what we buy, performative. You know, go to Whole Foods. That's like ethical consumption. You know, it's organic, it's recycled, whatever the fuck. And so, you know, that goes to like media we consume as well. It's like, okay, I'm gonna watch Black Panther because that's like, you know, educational for me as a white person. Or it's like I'm doing something that's like, and then that's not a bad thing, but it's like, you know, there's money behind it, you know, and it's not this like goodwill and you know, warm-hearted thing. It's like corporate profit fucking motivation and shit. At least that's how it seems to me. I don't know. Because it's just like you're seeing both things happen at once. You know, I'm seeing in my world, you know, it's just like there's nowhere for anything to get a foothold anymore. You know, it's like you start something and you get priced out within a year or two. You start an arts organization or some kind of community or some kind of third place. You start a house venue. You start a place where people can share work, a writer's group, whatever the fuck that might be. And then sooner or later, some kind of real estate problem happens. People's lives change. And so it's like we have to play into these legacy media things, the New Yorker, the Paris Review, the New York Times, the Poetry Project, whatever is able to build clout, but whatever is able to build a brand. You know, everybody's kind of competitively trying to build their careers and add these kind of credentials and these kind of merit badges from all these different fucking what is going on? You know, verified account type sources. You know, it's impossible. I'm not trying to sound, you know, like, definitely read James Baldwin. You know, like, there are great fucking writers from everywhere, from every background, and it's important to read people from every background, from every community, and from different languages and cultures, and to not be exploitative about it, or, you know, to gentrify it, or, you know, to put these writers, you know, that's what I feel. I feel like there's a white establishment that kind of subjugates these kind of, you know,
ethnically categorized voices into, you know, trauma narratives that, what the fuck is going on here? You know, I don't know, just kind of like make it like paint by numbers or something. And yeah, it's just flattened everything. I think it's just flattened all of the fucking like movies. It's flattened content. You know, it's something that like I think we, you know, we subject each other to like this kind of racial scorecard now, where it's like, what categories are you in? You get a certain number of points based on, you know, the value of whatever, you know, in the kind of it. Not that that's anything new per se. It just flipped, I guess. You know, right? The fucking the hierarchy, and but I don't, you know, it has maybe in like this kind of white collar society, at least like in this kind of like, you know, the way that this Kathy Lou was explaining, it's like, you know, the people in the positions of power are still white guys. You know what I mean? The people who are at the heads of these departments or people who have tenure or whatever are still white guys. It's just they hire a bunch of adjuncts or people to work under them to make them look good, who are not white, you know, to make them look like they are doing the right thing or progressive or whatever. But they're not giving in these people actually any real power, you know, and they'll probably take it away, you know, the first fucking chance they get. Or, you know, they're not going to let it threaten them. I don't know. And so, I don't know. It's just something that, like, it's hard being alive and, like, not, you know, I don't make a salary fucking, even what an adjunct makes, you know, to, like, pay rent in an apartment or feed myself or travel. It's like, and, you know, maybe I could fucking get a job in a restaurant or I don't know. It's like increasingly it's like you gotta play ball with evil forces to even make ends meet. And you can't even do that. I mean, it's gotten it basically impossible to even afford a fucking place to live. So what's the fucking point even? And so why not try to be a thorn in the fucking side of this whole stupid, you know, if we're all just, you know, if even the fucking colleges are owned by private equity or it's just a fucking another stock, you know, it's just another money-making opportunity. Let's just turn every goddamn thing, you know, let's turn the open mic into, let's go private, you know? Let's just trade shares of the fucking open mic or, I mean, it is something that's like a profit. It's like the 2-drink minimum, right? It's not just like this community free thing. It's like you got to pay or get the fuck out. Which, you know, is not necessarily my favorite thing. I'd rather not do it that way. And so it's like, you know, it just feels like another thing that they use to beat us over the head with and just tell us that, like, we're the problem. You know, we should be mad at each other, you know. You know, people of color should be mad at the white people for fucking privilege. White people should be mad at themselves for being privileged. Beat yourself up. Cut yourself down. Let's focus on that stuff. Let's focus on all the differences. Let's focus on, hey, wait a minute. And let's encourage each other to be, like, rude to each other, you know, like,
you're a white person, you're basically racist, probably. You profited off of colonization and um, but never mind all the fucking gentrification that's happening, and it's going all the way to East New York, Crown Heights, Bed-Stuy, historically black neighborhoods. There's Whole Foods in Harlem. There's Trader Joe's in Harlem. There's an internationalization of like the elite, or like transnational finance class. They all come to school at NYU. It's $100,000 a year tuition, Barron Trump, or Columbia. And they're from India or Asia or China, right? Like a lot of students that come to American universities who will pay to get an American education, they're international students. So, of course, they're woke because they're not white American, rednecks. Who historically, up until, the 80s or the 90s or the 2000s, were like kicking everybody's ass social status wise. And there was racism built into that. And there was, violence built into that. And so we have to pay for that. Or, I don't know, we just have to do this like performance. I don't know. I guess there's interesting ways to think about it, to confront it. Maybe I should focus on that. I was reading some interesting stuff about, because like with poetry, it's all about like the subjectivity in the eye, kind of lyrical. And, it's just, most of my poetry is very rooted in myself. And I'm not really one of these people, like, it's kind of fashionable or, chic to say, like, well, there is no self, or I don't even know what the self is, or I don't know who I am, or what is the self, or, and, like, I get that, and that's true, but, like, I also I don't really buy into that kind of stuff. I mean, I get that, but it's like, there also is a self, and there is like this cartoon character of me, and that's kind of what I want to write about. And so from like a literary point of view, being on the cutting edge of technique, like, is it really that novel for like another white male to like talk about their own point of view and sort of exhaustively catalog their own experience and their own consciousness? Like, it's not really that new or interesting, but I try to do it in this diffuse way where the self does have all these vantages and kind of like all these different genders and personas and whatnot. And but I do think that's kind of an interesting question, is like, where does that put the lyrical poem? If the lyrical poem is something that's rooted in whiteness, let's say, and maybe even white patriarchal maleness, if it's only people of privilege who've been able to write these kind of I do this, I do that poems. I mean, Frank O'Hara was a worker, right? He was able to finance the composition of his poems and his lifestyle because he worked at the front desk of the Museum of Art. So that's sort of built into his poem. He's at work. He's writing it on his break. So that's in his method. Part of his method is that it's fast. He has to write it fast because he's on break. He has to go back to work, He works for this elite cultural institution. Was he part of the professional managerial class? I suppose, possibly, yeah. But he started at the front desk, right? Just like selling fucking postcards. Like a clerk, that's something that I think is probably also built into this question of who gets to write the lyrical poem. You know, if you have a fucking job in the gulag or the assembly line, you probably don't have a lot of time to write a lyrical poem, or the circumstances of how you do it are going to be a lot different than a trust fund baby like James Merrill or somebody with a rent-controlled apartment, for instance, which enables them to have time for the self and for the I to sort of roost and wallow in its own crapulence. So think about that, exploding the self. How are you going to explode? How am I going to explode my identity as a straight white male performing this gender of blue jeans and Canadian tuxedo? I don't know. It would feel... I like what I'm doing. I'm going to keep doing it. Thank you for watching. And I'll be back on tomorrow. Like and subscribe. Go back to the beginning and watch from the beginning. And happy equinox. Happy autumn, everybody. Go back and check out the 2-year anniversary show. Watch my poem at the beginning, my State of the Union address. It's like 15 minutes. It's my big nervous breakdown truth spiel. So let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for watching.